Okay, everyone, we're at 5 minutes after the hour. My name is Chuck Dyer. I lead our strategic partnerships and alliances here at Demure. And one of our really key and foundational partnerships that we've worked with for a number of years now is AWS. And we're very, very grateful for their support in really sponsoring this webinar with us. So this is going to be with the training and certification team from AWS. And today we're going to be talking about the learning needs analysis and how that really is one of the kind of little known but most valuable tools that AWS has in helping to align training, certification, and really kind of upskilling your teams that really are driving the valuable investments that organizations have in AWS. And so hopefully today you're going to learn some things about how to utilize the tools that are there and really uncover some additional avenues of learning and upskilling. So with that, I want to introduce Jay Koenigsbauer and John Piccolo from AWS. And gentlemen, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce yourself and to go ahead and get things started. So again, thank you everyone for joining. And Jay and John, take it away.
Sounds good. Thanks, Chuck. Hi, everybody. My name is Jay Koenigsbauer. I am a business development manager here for our training and certification division here at AWS, and I work with our channel resellers. So I'm Chuck's direct counterpart and Demure's counterpart when it comes to anything and everything training related. So today I just wanted to kind of give a brief, agenda of what we're going to cover today, and John's going to take it away after that. But John, if you want to go to the next slide there, basically, what is a learning needs analysis? We call it an LNA. What are these things? Why are they important? Why would one want to utilize a learning needs analysis? For what purpose? Where's the value and the benefit in one doing this? We'll talk about an example output and show you some visuals, what this looks like once one does the learning needs analysis. We've got a customer success story that we'll share as well, just with previous experience doing one of these from one of our customers. And then how to join our LNA program if you're interested. We do have a few spots left for this quarter for one to be part of the LNA program. So you'd have to act quickly, but we can help you understand how to do that. And then at the end, we'll have some Q&A. And I will be, offline here and taking questions. So if you do have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. And what I'll do is I'll just raise those to John as we're going along here. And then obviously at the end, we'll take questions too. So with that, John, take it away.
Okay, great. I'm John Piccolo. Pleasure to meet everyone. It's a great opportunity to be here with Demure and have this privilege to discuss the learning needs analysis, explain why it's important, why one should be utilizing it, and to go through some of the details and the justifications for it. And I'm really excited to really dive deep into this. It's something that I personally support within AWS, and it's really valuable to those that want to optimize their use of AWS services. First, let's cover what it means to deploy and what the nature of a learning needs analysis is. Really, the learning needs analysis, just on a 60,000 foot view, is a way for you to see a snapshot of your organization's current skills, right, and capabilities. And that snapshot helps provide recommendations to fill those training gaps that exist across teams and across the organization in general. This analysis is essentially a survey. It's adaptive. It evaluates both the confidence of the individual respondent, their familiarity with certain AWS services, subjects, and concepts, to help aggregate that data in a way that can be reviewed, evaluated, and analyzed. Ultimately, it always passes through an individual human to validate the results of the analysis. What's really interesting about the learning needs analysis is it's able to produce a complete learning plan that involves organizational recommendations of where the organization should go toward. It also is able to provide personalized training plans for those teams, and ultimately recommendations that the individuals in those teams will be consuming. And so there are customer and partner versions that are available. And the nice thing about the learning needs analysis, it is localized across 8 languages. So it has incredible scope and breadth for our customers to be able to consume and solve their learning needs. One of the justifications behind the learning needs analysis is really straightforward, right? Being able to ultimately uncover your organization's skill set and identify shortfalls is really what the tool is intended to do. And we'll talk more about why that's really important. I mean, trivially, it's important because you're going to be using services that do have costs and are part of an investment and can, if not optimized, be challenging to leverage. And so we want to make sure that you're able to analyze the data at the team and group divisional level, extract that, and get the right people training in the right courses at the right time. That is really the reason why the learning needs analysis is pivotal for any organization, regardless of their capabilities, to deploy. Some intuition behind why resolving skill gaps is important. Now we're going to look at the high-level justification for it, right? And it comes down to those teams and those leaders, those decision makers in our customer accounts, customers that AWS and Demure are supporting, right? 85% of IT decision makers report a shortage in terms of cloud skills across teams. That may be because of lack of familiarity with new services that are always being deployed and the innovations that AWS is coming out with, or existing shortfalls in understanding the complexity of combining resources and IT capabilities within your firm. 70% of employees report that they also don't have the mastery of the skills they need to do their job. This ultimately leads to dissatisfaction with their current position in the organization, maybe apprehension to do certain things, to innovate, and to drive cost savings across your organization. And so it's incredibly important when we think about skill application as a way to optimize organizational efficiency, drive operational excellence, and improve your cost exposure. Another intuition about skills and the learning needs analysis is intimately involved in, and something I'm particularly passionate about, is the mismatch that exists between the growth of skilled labor, which is cloud skills, and the capability to leverage cloud services, and the current demand. Right, this mismatch is causing costs to increase for customers, challenge in finding those resources in the market, and an inability to get the right type of people in your organization to help you innovate and leverage the cloud to create new cost-efficient tools, operations capabilities, and services for your customers. We know that based off of a study that we performed with Forrester, that evaluated the ROI customers get internally within their organization from investing in training courses and in training resources. Customers see a 234% ROI. It's really exciting, right? 50% increase in filling skills roles internally was part of that ROI. Customers also saw a 250% increase in the average employee retention rate, which, when you have a shortage, is pivotal to consider. It's a strategic advantage for customers that can do that. And those firms that do that effectively will have an edge in the market in creating value for their customers. The ability to improve innovation. Now, this is something that often we get questions on. I want to anticipate questions. What do you mean by innovation, John? It's kind of an ambiguous concept. Maybe we wax philosophical about the nature of innovation, but how we measure innovation is development teams' ability to push code and release either instances of projects or the ability for them to carry proof of concept to decision makers and test those POCs. That's how we count innovation. So the ability to accelerate that delivery and accelerate the POC instance and code releases. A 50% increase in filling skilled roles internally was also seen, where customers were able to solve this gap, this supply and demand problem, by actually getting internal individuals the skills they need to move up in their career, which creates value for everyone that's participating. Let's talk about the LNA's process, right? The LNA, when you boil it down, is a survey, and it is easy to deploy. It's easy to consume. Employees will get basically a URL. They'll access the survey. They'll identify what team they're part of, and then what happens is they'll answer a variety of questions. These questions are going to be competency-based. They're going to be confidence-based, familiarity-based. They're going to ask some questions around your business. For example, are you trying to migrate workloads to the cloud? Are you maybe involved in an optimization effort? Or are you maybe facing certain challenges around existing costs due to on-prem scale limitations, or due to moving from other platforms to AWS? And then the data is then aggregated and you're able to review the results collaboratively, right, with an individual to understand what those results mean for your team and how those results can be implemented into individual learning plans that are then recommended to your organization. So let's talk a little bit about the roles the LNA supports. And so we actually do categorize in the LNA the different individuals, right, and the roles that they identify with. Now, there is an option for them to identify with a unique role and input that, but what it's centered around is the most common roles that tend to engage with applications. And the reason why it does that is so that it can provide recommendations that are aggregated and easier for teams to consume, and are able to link those roles and categories back to functions and services and needs that exist within AWS. Here's a quick example of an LNA question. So you see here that it's simply testing your knowledge, familiarity, and competency. A lot of the LNA has been structured on Kirkpatrick type thinking, where we're trying to understand the individual's ability to recognize, understand, and ultimately, if they have any familiarity with deploying those services. Research shows that tends to correlate with actual capabilities and skills in a meaningful way. And so to limit the invasiveness, avoid having to spin up a lab or have them work on an actual workload, we're able to get a very quick and robust understanding of capabilities through these type of questions and a series of these questions across individuals and groups, and then aggregate them. And when we aggregate them, we get a skill and score overview that then ranks, right, very simply, the self-assessed knowledge and capabilities of those individuals. In this case, you can see that the ranking goes from 1 to 5, where 1 being that the individual, or in this case, right, does not have knowledge or skill of that particular subject matter, or no familiarity. Basic, right? They have some basic understanding of this, and this could be very basic, that they're familiar with the nature of CloudFront and what CloudFront does for availability of an application, or they may have a functional capability where they do know how to create a tiered storage instance in S3, and how they can maybe spin up some basic EC2 instances and serverless capabilities. And then proficient, they're able to actually use AWS to develop more advanced workloads and structure those workloads meaningfully to do more sophisticated things. And then finally, an individual that would obtain a 5 would be those individuals and groups that have an expert rating, are able to do and are familiar with basically every question. They're confident with their capabilities. They have familiarity of the nature of the service and the details that the service requires to execute. Here's an example of the results. This chart can be a little bit confusing. Really, what it's trying to show is your organization's positioning across those different domains or categories. So you can see, what would be considered optimal for the organization in case of the median that we tend to see across competencies, which is the nice little green line at 5, right? Is what we'd like to see. That's that aspirational median of being expert, and then you can see where your organizations tend to fall short of that. This is a case study. All right, so we've anonymized it for the purpose of the presentation, but this involves a customer in the banking industry that was, using AWS as part of a multifaceted strategy where they were optimizing benefits to transform a business instance. In this particular instance, they were using it across a variety of different financial services, availability, customer access points. And the organization in this case was really trying to understand how to optimize not just the cost of their services, but how can they really innovate to improve availability to their customers, to access things quicker, to make it more robust and simpler for those consumers. And so they worked with AWS to meet those key deadlines. They realized that to do that, however, they needed to improve the skills across their organization. They just were not going to extract additional value until the IT staff was able to gain those skills. They ran a learning needs analysis, and the results of that analysis were collected, and we were able to deliver a variety of trainings to them. There were about 50 topics that they were participated in to improve their skill sets, and it was a great outcome. Right, these are the outcomes that we accept. We expect to be typical. We want our customers to come back with a positive CSAT score. We want those individuals to get training, and we want the customer to experience real tangible outcomes for their business from that training.
Hey, John, quick question that popped up is there any sort of certificate of completion once one completes the LNA, or is it simply the results of the learning needs analysis that sort of shows that you completed that process?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, the learning needs analysis doesn't provide a certificate of completion. What it will do is it will provide you the report, the details of the report, the breakdown of the information, and then recommendations across different courses. The nice thing about the learning needs analysis is often the courses that are delivered to you when you complete the learning plans, it sets teams up to go and attain AWS certifications, where they can set for a certification and actually get a validated certification from the output of those extended learning plans. It also sets individuals up to understand where their gaps are, to where they can pursue additional certifications as they evolve in their cloud journey. We actually do have large organizations, customers that will invest in those certifications for employees that do follow the learning plan, complete it if they decide to consume our courses or digital training or other resources as part of that effort within their organization. We definitely recommend pursuing those things, but you can seek AWS certifications for your teams. And I definitely recommend doing that. It is a great way for individuals to showcase their skills. It also helps managers understand who's really going above and beyond to pursue certifying and validating their skills and proving that back to the organization. So it's a great question. So let's talk a little bit about how to join the Demure LNA program. If there's any other questions, just interrupt me. How to join the Demure LNA program. So that there are 5 spots available for Q1, as Jay hinted at earlier. We recommend that you have at least 30 individuals to take the program. There's a variety of reasons for this. The more, the merrier, obviously, because it is additive. It aggregates data. And that aggregation is exactly what you need to be able to look at your organization snapshot and see what's happening across those different categories. So if you have more people, definitely apply more. What we want you to do, if you are interested, is contact Demure point of contact. In this case, I've added Chuck's information here. Please reach out to Chuck and ask about this. It's a great program. I recommend doing that as soon as you can. You'll be notified if there are spots remaining. If so, all you need to do is provide your name, the associated team names that you'd like to participate, and then the time of completion for this. We recommend about 2 weeks. Obviously, you can reduce that by really having that sponsorship and having a champion in your organization and helping explain the value of this to those participants. Sometimes participants are concerned about taking LNAs because what does that say about me as a developer or me as an individual engineer? We can work with you to anonymize data if we need to, or provide that type of service as well if that's a concern for your organization. And once that completion occurs, Demure and AWS will gather these results. We'll schedule a 30 to 45 minute meeting to dive into those results and look at the recommendations and tailor those recommendations to optimize your learning outcomes for your organization. So some quick FAQs. Often people ask, is there a fee? This sounds really exciting. There's not a fee. There is not any charge. So the LNA is essentially free from that perspective, although it will require commitment from you and your organization to providing a time to the LNA, right? To complete it, get the teams involved. It usually takes about 10 to 20 minutes to complete the survey. And so, it's not too taxing. It just requires that support from the organization. The languages that are available, another question that's often asked: Spanish, French, Brazilian, Portuguese, Japanese, Korean, and traditional simplified Chinese. Also, if you want, there is a demo sample survey that can be sent to you. You can just reach out. We can provide you with that link, and you can look at the demo of the questions and what the standard set of questions are that have been non-customized. Okay, let's open up for any questions or discussion.
Yep, I've got another one that came through, John. Great job, by the way. Thanks for sharing the case study. Is LNA a new offering from AWS? Are you able to share what percentage of AWS customers have used LNA so far and benefit?
Yeah, I don't have on top of my head the exact percentage of AWS customers that have used it. We do have thousands of LNAs that we run on an annual period, several thousand. And those LNAs, often some customers run them multiple times across their organization. The learning needs analysis is very popular. It has been used by many of our largest organizations and even most advanced users. The interesting thing about the LNA, when you ask about its existence, the LNA has evolved over the years. It was released several years ago. I believe it was released 3 years ago. So it's not a new tool. It is a tool that is evolving. It becomes more sophisticated and adapts to services that we release, courses that training and certification creates, and includes also new offerings that we have for training availability that partners like Demure can help you get access to. And so it has been around a while, and it is something that is used very frequently by our customers.
Awesome. Here's another one. What are the types of courses available?
Yeah, so there's training certification along with Demure. We offer a variety of different instructor-led training courses that range from very basic courses like technical essentials that cover what is the cloud, what are the basics around the cloud, what are some of the services that we have, what do they do, and why do they do those things, what are the basic technical requirements to do some of these things, and what is the nature of it, how does it relate to access, control, security, scalability, resilience in your workloads, and what that looks like, all the way through advanced developing on AWS, where you're structuring, optimizing formal workloads. You're using everything from advanced AI/ML tools, clusters, EC2 instance spot management to decrease your costs in a meaningful way, and serverless to help increase and improve scalability of your applications. And so there's a wide variety of courses. We have those courses in the form of primarily instructor-led training. We also do have digital training that is available to you, where you can deploy hands-on labs and consume other services offered by AWS.
Okay, great. And here's another one. Who all within the organization are recommended to take this survey?
Yeah, so this is actually a really important question, and I appreciate the individual that asked this. Is we definitely recommend that those individuals that are interacting with the services directly, involved in developers, software engineers, right? These may even be anybody on the front and back end side that will be interacting with our tools. Structural operation deployment individuals should be considering the LNA. Although there are some instances where customers may want to run the LNA for broader parts of their organization. We have had customers, it's not infrequent at all, where they will ask if they're like a software provider that is offering a product that is built on AWS, that they may want sales teams, support teams, quality engineers to have at least a robust understanding of AWS services, so that they can engage with their customers around troubleshooting or discussions related to what that product is doing. So it really depends on kind of your scope, but definitely if you are interacting with the cloud, or you're developing software or pushing code that involves structures that are in the cloud, this is for you. This is something that you should consume.
Great, thank you. Another one, can we get help in recommending courses to our specific business needs and AWS products that we use?
Certainly. So the LNA is indeed the first step to be able to do that, but it is not. It's not going to be. It's not a superset. It's not going to be inclusive of all possible cases. What will happen is, as in this case, Demure reaches out and the AWS individual to partner in discussing the LNA outcomes, integrating and talking about what services you're currently using, how those services are being deployed, your business cases and nature of the business that involves those services needs to definitely be highlighted, right? So that we can look across the LNA data and see how that aligns, and if we need to adjust or make any modifications to the training recommendations. In particular, as it relates to your details involving maybe things like migrations. Maybe you're moving from like a workload that you've built on-prem, and you're trying to move that at a certain time period, but it's very complex. In that case, we would want to change your training plan to also align with how you're expected to deliver on that migration and some of the nature around those applications being moved. Often that is actually skipped over until the end, and then customers will come back and say, yeah, I'm actually migrating. Do you have classes on how to help my team understand migration optimization? Yeah, we do have classes on that. Let's talk about that. And the LNA does cover a question in that now. Again, the LNA evolves, so it captures some of that, but those type of things definitely need to be talked about.
Great. Here's another one. What does the curriculum of the course look like? That might speak to, what are the different ways that we can deliver these classes, instructor-led training versus skill builder. But the question was, what does the curriculum of the course look like?
Yeah, it depends, right? We can actually send an example if you'd like. You could reach out to Chuck or Jay or myself. We're happy to send you an example. The curriculums usually will follow competencies. For example, like let's talk about serverless. Go over the basics of what serverless is. What is the nature of serverless? How does deploying code in an instance involve scalability, reliability? It will go through those general concepts, and then it will talk about how do you implement that? How is that associated with other AWS service? For example, if you're using storage, why do you need an EC2 instance? And so it covers both the kind of theory and then also the actual pragmatic application. And it tends to progress. These courses tend to be progressive, where they will start with the theory, the concepts, and then they'll move through the actual hands-on or pragmatic applications of learning, so that you're getting both sides of that learning equation. And all of our instructor-led training courses do that, right? So it moves from concept to application. In some cases, the courses have hands-on labs that they run, or jams, which are collaborative engagements with the learners, where the learners actually compete. And they do that so that you get both sides of the learning with respect to our services. But the curriculums themselves do vary based on the scope of that course. So for example, if architecting on AWS, it's going to have a very specific thing, versus developing on AWS is going to cover a different set of competencies in more depth.
Great. Thank you for that. And another one here, can we get help in navigating through all of the courses and content that AWS offers?
Yes, certainly. That the LNA will help do that, right? The LNA will spin up those recommendations. It'll provide a list of courses, and then we can look at things that remain. For example, there's a lot of stuff. But talking about the LNA's results, talking about your business challenges, if you have additional questions around, hey, what other things do you have out there? Those can be provided to you, and it's significant. So it can be a little bit daunting, which is another reason for why we produce the learnings analysis to help with that.
Okay, great. Here's another one. Is LNA available only to existing AWS customers, or is it also available to companies that are planning to use AWS or migrating to AWS?
It's primarily focused on AWS services. So for example, if you were on an alternative cloud platform, it may be of little value to you unless you were somehow able to relate one-to-one the exact services in the curriculum. That may be costly to extract value from it. So it is really centered around those that are consuming AWS services and are trying to gain competencies on our platform. It won't give you generic things around the nature of maybe what computation means in the cloud. Again, you could extract that. You could take a course and do that, but I would recommend seeking alternative training for those type of concepts that are more generalized.
Okay, here's another one. What's the main motive of LNA? For who is the LNA program most focused on? What type of audience?
Yeah, primarily organizations, right? These are businesses that are deploying meaningful use of, and what I mean by meaningful is usually large scale. For example, I use AWS for, I actually API my iCloud photos for my family into an S3 bucket, and then that way I can optimize my expense to Apple, which I do for fun. But the interesting thing is that I would be somebody that I would go and seek free training or get onto AWS Skill Builder and pull up some courses. But for organizations that are leveraging incredibly complex workloads or are trying to move to the cloud to benefit from those type of workloads, they're creating applications, websites, and services. They're dealing with sensitive data. Those type of things are more significant, and that's what we target with the LNA. Is we want to understand organizational capabilities and the nature of those organizations. One user is not going to benefit from the LNA individually. It's really got to be that organization, because of the interactivity across users, the collaboration across users. It's a lot of reasons why we focus on those type of customers.
Perfect. I think those are all the questions I've seen come in so far on this end. If anybody else has questions, feel free.
Okay, it looks like at this point we don't have any other questions that at this time. But let me say, first of all, I want to thank all of those that did join the webinar today. Thanks so much for sharing some of your time with us today and spending a little bit of time with us to learn about the LNA and then the value that it can bring to the organization. Hopefully you found it helpful, and hopefully some of you will be interested in actually requesting more information on how to request an LNA and get that started for your organization. I do want to thank John. Great presentation, John. Thanks so much for going through this and for answering everybody's questions. Also, Jay, thank you as always for your support, and for our team at Demure for getting this set up, especially for Lauren Patton, our marketing director, for working everything behind the scenes to bring this together. As far as next steps and kind of calls to action, clearly we'd love to visit with any of you that are interested in getting more information on the learning needs analysis. What we're going to be doing for all those that registered for the webinar, both that attended and those that were not able to attend for whatever reason, we'll go ahead and follow up with you individually via email, letting you know, first of all, how to request the LNA, and then how to get that process started. And then those who would also like to share this video or the archive of the webinar with others in your organization, we'll let you know how to get that as well. And then we'll be in touch and hopefully be in communication with all of you, learning more about how to get this started for your organization. Thank you again so much. One last thing we'd like to mention. This is the first of what we plan to do as quarterly webinars with AWS. So please be on the lookout for others coming up in next quarter. And again, thank you all for joining. Have a wonderful day, and we look forward to working with you on getting this learning needs analysis done for your organizations. Take care, everyone.